welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are archived. You can find them in podcast form at ArtistFirst.com. You're welcome to send your questions and comments to this or any show. Hit us up at dj@ArtistFirst.com. Now, here they are, the wise ones, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Z, my man! Yes, and Merry Christmas to all, and all the ships at sea. And thank you, Z-Man. And yes, I am Michael Lyons, and I am not very wise tonight.
Oh, we're in for it tonight, man.
I'm one of the wise men.
Ah.
Oh, I've got the myrrh, dude. You got the money?
So that's how the gold was gotten?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah,
Right,
it was
sure.
basically a failed drug deal that happened there in the manger in Bethlehem.
Oh, boy.
Boy,
It's going to be awfully interesting tonight.
Merry Christmas! And we haven't even introduced yourself yet. Go.
Oh, I'm Margaret.
Mm-hmm. She's the sane one for all you people out there.
Mm-hmm. And we are here.
Welcome to the soul of the everyman.
Right.
Points don't matter. And we're going to make some points tonight. Tonight. We've been taking it easy on you guys. But it is the end of the year, and we figured tonight we're going to have a little bit of a heavy topic. So we're opening with some humor. We're going to get deeply into it, and then we're going to close with some humor, maybe, who knows. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about a topic which is near and dear to our hearts and really near and dear to everyone's hearts. And we talk about this a lot. We talk about the fact that love is the ultimate power. And if you guys go to the website, because we set this graphic up, it was such an awesome topic. We set it up 24 hours in advance, so we know it's up there. There's this great quote, which you should read, and then there's our topic, which is that love, the greatest power, is that which will hold you, and I mean by you, I mean all of us, to whatever it is that is your cross. You know, the cross is a symbol of Christianity, but the cross is also a symbol of incredible suffering.
Yes.
And whatever it is that holds you to it, if you're truly there willingly, and you're truly there because what you're doing is far greater than what's being done to you because of it, that's your cross. And the only thing that holds you there is love. The only thing that can hold you there willingly, because as we all know, real trials. Every second, every moment of a real trial, you have two choices: to continue or to give up.
Right.
And you may not be able to get away from it. It may end up killing you, but you give up by not fighting anymore. You give up by coming down or coming away from that cross. And what holds you there is your will, is your volition to say, yes, it's still worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love what it is that I'm dedicating myself to saving more than the pain it's putting me through.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some significant experience with that, but there is no one on this earth that at some point in their life doesn't, figuratively and sometimes literally get nailed to a cross that you have to stay on, or that you have to choose to stay on.
Right. This is when the power of your free will comes into play.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good idea to read the quote.
Well, that's your job.
Oh, thanks.
Because I'm bad at that.
All right. When you love someone, that love has no limit, no measure, because you know in your deepest being that when that love demands sacrifice, you will give it without question. You will not look for reasons, for justification. The act of giving, of sacrificing, is a natural compulsion, like breathing. And it will, in the end, surprise you, because you did it without second thought.
Yes.
Yes.
And really succinctly, you did it because you didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that which you loved.
Well, when you are put to the wall, your heart speaks of what is valuable.
Yes.
If you don't think about it at all, because your priority becomes very, very clear. When someone you love deeply is in danger, or something is about to happen, and it may not even be someone you even know, but you just know that deep inside you, you must do something. That is the deepest expression of love. You must save this person. And you will do anything and everything in your power, whether it's a short, you've got to catch someone or intercept something so this person isn't hurt, or it's a long term that you have to hunker down and fight like you've never fought before.
Exactly.
But that love is what motivates you, it drives you, it fuels you to take the step again and again and again. And when you realize that this is happening, you also realize you have not thought about it. Not at all. You're there, and that's all there is. You've taken the step into that moment of now. Very clear, very real, and there is no other choice. And that cross that we were talking about, that's almost like a side note.
It is. It is. Now we have to go. Now this is the part of the show where I go back and try to explain, because Margaret has these incredible points that I don't want anybody to miss, including me. The first one I think is so important that you said, is that this moment has no. It seems like there was never a choice. You make the choice effortlessly, and to my mind, it's not that you didn't make a choice. It's that love that you have for whatever it is that you're putting yourself on the line from the heart is the closest thing that we're going to get to what we call this sort of absolute love. This love of this sort of pure love. I'm using the wrong word, but the idea here is that we can't on this earth experience at least the continuous sort of non-judgmental, completely
Unconditional.
That's the word. Gosh, I'm glad you're here. We can't live in a state of unconditional love, but I think in those instances, it's an unconditional love. You maybe can't stay there. You have to rededicate yourself, or you have to find that the strength within to continue to sacrifice, especially for those long haul. But in those instances where people do things which you say, well, you could have died, or you did. People do die saving others. They throw their whole lives, everything they are, into saving another. That's an instant of unconditional love. It's beyond any. And then the other thing you mentioned, which is very, very significant, is that in this moment, when you're listening to your heart, when you're in that instant of unconditional love, you are in the state of an absolute being. You are in the now. It's this most elusive state, because most of the time we spend either in the future or the past. Despite our best efforts, we live in in what just happened and the regrets, and we live in what's going to happen and what we're going to do next, what we're going to do next, what we're going to do next. And it is in these absolute instants when you can touch the heart that you realize that the heart is living in the now, in the unconditional, and that if you listen to it, you will do the most amazing things that you could never do were you making decisions. The decision of when you're presented with an opportunity to do something which is so far beyond your ken, you can decide to not do it. You can say, "Oh, I don't want to get involved." But when you're in the heart moment, there's never that. It seems that there is no decision. You're just, as this quote says, you're compelled, and then you are surprised. Some of these folks the people talk to afterwards say, "Why did you do it? Why did you risk everything?" And you said, and they say one thing almost consistently: "I felt I had to. I couldn't not do it.
I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try."
Right. And the last point, is that most of us aren't faced with these instantaneous heart compulsion. What we're faced with is the long haul. That somebody who we really love, or we profess to love, is put into a situation where they are helpless or they're in great danger. And in that case, you have to take the inspiration is the instantaneous echo of the heart. I love them so much I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. But then there's the grind. Then there's the years of sacrifice, or the years or the months or the days or whatever it is where you really have to get up every morning and discipline yourself to fulfill what the heart demands. And the heart demands.
Yes.
Love is a master. It requires you to be your best.
To give your best.
Yeah.
And to understand. I mean, honestly, when you're in that moment, you also understand that what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. You know your limitations. And you sit there and you go, "No, this is the only choice that exists for me. I must take this."
And I think you somehow are, even though you think you know your limitations, you exceed them. And that's what surprises you.
You exceed them because you give up on believing that somehow you can control them.
The heart, again, the heart doesn't care about your thoughts about limitations.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a thought. A thought is not a concrete thing.
Mm.
You're sitting there making an evaluation of whether or not you can do something. And when you give up and you say, no, this is not something that I can actually control, all right, by imposing certain viewpoints or it's got to be a certain way, you realize that doesn't change anything at all. And what is required, it goes beyond any little thing you thought of that would be able to affect a situation. Whatever you were using to manage your life before, you're blown out of the water because you are in a realm that is outside your normal experience. And you have to open up your heart, find what grounds you into that moment. Say, I'm not letting go of this because this is my awareness, my presence. My eyes and my hands are needed in this moment.
You remember, I'm going to just go here and then we'll see how this goes. The night that we came home from Westchester after we had been told Christopher's diagnosis.
Mm.
And our doctor, who was a very wonderful woman, gave us the worst news that any parent can get. And we drove home. We left Christopher there that night, and we wrote about this in There's a Reaper. But just to sum it up, we left Christopher there in the hospital, and that was hard. But we knew we had to come home. We had to tell, and then we had to take counsel. And somewhere in the middle of that night, the dark reaches of that incredibly dark night, we gave up. We gave up the idea that we were going to be able to control our lives anymore. We gave up the idea that we knew what we were doing, or that we had any real hope. We gave up hope, but it gave us this incredible resolve. We said we're going to fight regardless. And the heart calls you at that moment. You have to listen to the heart at that moment, in the lowest depth, when you have no idea. Exactly, you have no idea of the control. You can't control anything. You don't know what's going to happen. You have to embrace it and give up, and then you realize that the mind is done. The mind is like gone off in the corner gibbering.
It's true, but what you're giving up now, I just want to clarify this. When you're giving up hope, what you're giving up hope on is that somehow you can figure a way to do it on your own.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what you're giving hope up. Giving up.
Is a different word there. It's not hope. You don't give up hope in that you fall into despair. You give up. It really is more like control, but it's this idea that you can figure it out. I'm not sure what word that is.
Okay, but this is what does manipulate the situation so it's comfy for you within your parameters of existence, that you believe that this is my life and this is where we're supposed to be, and a hand comes by and you are thrust into a situation that has no walls or floors. You have no bearing at that point, and you must come right back to your core and understand what life really is. And you are in a fight for life. So that blows everything that was comfortable for you on an everyday basis and everyday routines right out of the water. And the hope that you hold to emanates from the very core of your being, what life really is. And life is far greater than that concept of life that I thought I had.
I think what is perfect about what you just said is that, and it relates back to some of the great enlightenments of all time, people you hear about in Buddhas and so on. In those moments, the veil of illusion, my life is supposed to be this way, and I have it all figured out, and I've got it all under control. That illusion is, folks, this is sort of scary, but it's permanently pierced. You never actually get it back. You can kind of fake it, but at that moment, you lose. The veil of illusion is ripped asunder, and you never can really put it all the way back. And you enter into that world that you just described, which is boundless. It has no floor. It has no ceiling. It has no walls. It is a chaos in one regard, that you have to find your own center. And your center doesn't exist in your mind. Your mind is just another appendage gibbering in the corner. But your heart is this bright, burning center. And that's the only thing you've got. And at that moment, your love is what has to guide you. And you realize that all the other stuff, everything that you were taught up to that point, and this veil can be ripped from you at any point in your life, everything you're taught up to that point was just so much window dressing on the real reality. It's like Plato's cave. You're suddenly thrust into the real reality, and you are lost if you don't turn to your heart. And you can get lost very easily.
Well, people want to control, and they want to do it right, so it just makes them want to cling to their concepts even harder. And they cling to illusions. It's just wisps of smoke. You can't cling to a wisp of smoke. And what really, really matters is, where does your heart reside? Are you there in that moment to comfort and guide and love your child? Or are you there to comfort yourself? Because suddenly everything you thought you knew wasn't there, and you feel very fearful.
Alone, too.
And you feel alone. But what are you going to do? Are you going to try to comfort yourself again with more illusions? Or are you in the moment realizing that, that's secondary to everything else? The little one that's looking at me, those eyes that are looking at you, where life is looking at you. Do you choose to embrace this? Do you choose to be so present that you understand that this is another's path? This is not about you. This is the path of someone that you love deeply. Do you choose to be of service at that point?
Right, and to bring it back to a little bit what we began this with, you are, by that choice, if you make the choice to make yourself second and everything else, and the thing that needs you first, your child or whatever it is, you have bound yourself to what is figuratively and sometimes literally a cross, incredible thing that you have to do, whether it's short or long, and tremendous amounts of pain and a different reality, by that love. You choose the path of the heart. It is not puppies, kittens, Hallmark cards, and Valentine's Day. The path of the heart is incredibly hard. It's also incredibly rewarding. It's also incredibly, unbelievably real. And people are, before you are exposed to the path of the heart, or at the moment you are exposed, there's, as you mentioned, incredible dislocation and fear, because it is the unknown. Maybe it's a reawakening to your real self, but we've been so far, or such a long time, disassociated from it, that you are in great fear if you don't, because you don't know what may happen, and you have to embrace that too. One of the problems with this state is you have to let go of something very comforting, the idea that you can control what happens next. Or you have to realize that you never could, but you had been telling yourself for the last umpteen years, whatever it is, that we can figure it out and we can control what happens next. Because the mind is great at that. It's like, yeah, it'll all be great. We'll do this.
No, we can always just figure it out. There's always a way, and all we have to do is sit down and really look at it and make our decisions. And it's so young.
And you said it before, Margaret. Is that there's a huge temptation, even after the initial shock, to go back there.
Oh, absolutely. Because you feel that you know what reality is. But what happens when suddenly you're thrust into a reality that it's very clear that you do not control at all?
We saw it. We're not super people, but we saw it. If you open with the eyes of the heart, you see others in the same situation, but going that way, where they try to say, well, we can figure this out. It'll be okay. And the unfortunate part about that way is that if the illusion doesn't reestablish itself, if you are continually ripped out of it again and again because things don't go the way the mind's figuring it out, it's actually much more painful, because each time is like the first time. Each time is an existential wound, because you deny the reality and try to prop up the illusion, and you waste time, you waste energy, And you can end up fighting yourself and really denying that love which you know is real. What I'm trying to say is that when these crosses or these moments of reality present themselves, even though it's very tempting to try and reestablish the illusion, you have to embrace them. And they can be short, or they can be the rest of your life.
You mean you're embracing the reality of what is, not the illusion.
Right.
You're not embracing the illusion.
Right. You have to let the illusion. The initial shock when the illusion is ripped away is like being thrust into ice cold water. It takes your breath away. It makes your heart stop. And then you try to get back. You try to say, no, it'll be okay. We can figure it out. If you're re-thrust into the shock, it's again the same thing. Instead, you've got to open your eyes and take a deep breath of that ice cold water, and realize that the only way to be is to be in your current reality. And we talked about now. You have to be there now. It's your time to be in the heart now. And it is your time to realize that illusion, the illusory mind construct, is no longer reality, and you know it, and you can't unknow it, no matter how hard you try. And these are hard things.
Well, it's understanding that you know very little. You have got to receive that this is not something that you can know, no matter how much research you're doing on the internet.
But the word is receive, and let's receive this. We'll take a break because it's been pretty heavy. We'll go back to the studio. You guys can take a deep breath and reestablish the illusion, and we'll be back to ruin it when we get back.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
The Timeless Esoterica radio program with Dr. Bruce is broadcast on the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, on ArtistFirst.com. We explore topics including the paranormal, alien life, mysteries, conspiracies, hidden history, oddities, and much more. Each show will feature a special guest with exciting and thought-provoking discussion. Always keep an open mind, an open heart, live forever, and remember Dr. Bruce believes in you.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Hi, this is Hannah Ruth from the band Wild Hum. Check out our new Americana Soul CD, Wild Hum, at our website, wildhummusic.com. And you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Thank you.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
Thank you for joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lynes.
Z-Man, my man. We've said that 4 times now, and 2 that you couldn't hear and 2 that we did, but we're going to stop. Anyway, welcome back to The Soul of Everyman, and this is the second half of the bottom of the top of the next hour, whatever it is. And tonight, I'll be more serious. We're talking about, in essence, love, but it's not just love the way people think about love. It's not love, Hallmark love, Valentine's candy love. This is the love which is, in essence, the truth of reality. This is the heart essence. This is the soul echo of eternity. This is what will make you do things that you thought you never could or wanted to. This is what will allow you to place yourself on a figurative or literal cross for another. And you're there at your own will because you are living in that moment of love. And in some ways, you're living in a moment of unconditional love when you do that.
Mm-hmm. And we are all capable of doing this, whether you believe it or not. Each one of us has that spark within, and it speaks. And there are times when it is an undeniable call.
Irresistible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think just to go back a little bit, what we were talking about before we went to the break, is that this force, we'll call this force love because we don't have another good word for it, this force of unconditional love, which is within us, and is our connection to the spark of the divine. When we are presented with incredible challenges, existential challenges, or existential challenges to those who we love, it automatically becomes our center point. But it is not, even though it is a compulsion, it is an incredible, almost irresistible force. You still have to decide to embrace the heart center. Moments of existential crisis for you or others that you love, and really mostly for others that you love, take you out of our ordinary mind-centered reality. Everything, when you go through a crisis, what's the first thing you say? Nothing else mattered. I let everything else go because bills don't matter, and what you're eating doesn't matter, and what you're going to do next week doesn't. None of it matters. You're in the eternal now, and you've only got one thing you can do if you're going to stay there. You have to listen to your heart center because that's the only thing you've got. Mm-hmm. All the other things, all the illusory things of yesterday and tomorrow don't exist. But they never did, but you always thought they did. You thought with your mind, and all of us have this mind. I'm not trying to exempt myself. All of us have this mind where we think we know what's going on. We think that we knew what happened last. We think we know what we're going to do next. And then, amazingly, reality steps in once in a while and says, You, dear one, are not what you're going to do next or what happened last week. You are now in now, the real reality. And you, dear one, have a choice to make. Do you accept the only thing you've got left is the heart or chaos? And choose. And it seems like not much of a choice, but both you do have that choice, because to embrace the heart is incredibly hard.
Now that is true. When you look at a situation like that, are you going to be able to be courageous enough to take the step into the unknown? Because you have been swept out of everything you knew, everything that was comfortable, every little, oh, well, this is how I always treated that. Oh, it's not a problem. And it's not there anymore. You don't have those little touchstones that can give you comfort. And what is real is staring at you in the face. Will you come up to it is always the question. Or do you want to just fall back? And I do remember after we had gotten that diagnosis of Christopher being just, you realize that leukemia meant death is real, so real. And I remember sitting there almost like you're having a conversation with yourself, okay? Looking at your child and saying, no, this is like a bad dream. Can't be. But wait, this is what is the result of the biopsies. What can I do? And I always remember for myself, as a mother of 3 boys, you were always juggling things. You were, let's do this, let's put this here, and you have backup plans and other backup plans, and organizing everything to the nth degree. And I realized that I had been given that gift because I was going to have to use it in another way. Memorizing 10-digit numbers repeatedly, different numbers for different reasons, whether it is to make a phone call or talk to the hospital, insurance companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I digress. When this came into our hands, I remember it was like figuratively looking at my mental part that had always organized things and always figured things out. And my question was, what now? And the response from that mental aspect was absolutely nothing. There was no answer that could be given. None. And this was a scenario that had to happen a few times going through Chris's struggles. Because you think you figured it out. Oh yeah, we'll just use the biggest gun that they have. We'll go through bone marrow transplant. That'll take care of it.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. But it did give him 1 more year. What would you do? What would you do if there was some way to add more time to someone's lifespan?
Well, I mean, going back a little bit, though, what you said is exactly right. The moment that you ask the mind, so reality has come crashing in. Your child has been diagnosed with a basically a death sentence type of disease. And this is a struggle. This is a longer struggle. This isn't the struggle of, you have to save somebody from a burning car. You suddenly have to put yourself in the situation where you say to your mind that's always been there, always figured everything out, that had an incredible, and Margaret has an incredible mind. She's very, very, very good at logic and mathematics, and we don't even need to go into it. The point is that mind part of you and of me too, we were really, really, really comfortable, really, really competent, and it had never failed us before. And so that was our go-to thing. Hey, got a big problem, we're going to go figure it out, we're going to find the thing to do, we're going to get the big gun, we're going to we had it all. And you reach the point where you say to the mind, hey, none of that's working. What now? And you get that silence. In that silence is the reality that the mind has to reach the end of itself, that we, our little existence part of us, the little I, reaches the end of self, the end of I can figure it out. And you realize that the bigger part, the rest of you that is vast, timeless, and in the now, the being part of you, the vast, unknowable part of you, says, now we can begin. Because the mind has finally given up. And we mentioned earlier in the last half hour that you give up hope. The hope that you're giving up is that you can figure it out.
You give up your concept of ego.
Yeah.
I can do it.
I can do it.
And you have a vast array of concepts that constitute that I. I am a mother. I am intelligent. I am capable. I am da 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 da.
Right. I'll learn everything I can about it. I'll become a 10-minute expert. I'll know all the terms. I'll research it. All those are I terms. All those are I actions.
That is aspects of your ego. Whether you realize it or not, how you handle things, that is aspects of your ego.
Right.
And to let go of that, that's a mind-blowing thing for most people. When you realize what you're letting go is a concept of your identity. And
right.
It feels like you're giving up your identity.
Right.
But the truth of who you are was always there before any concept you happen to cobble together.
Right.
You go back to that pristine consciousness that always was and always will be. And that's when you can begin to take steps in clarity.
And it's a process. The initial shock, you're given that instant when you say yes. And the yes is a heart yes. I'll do whatever has to be done. But then the mind rears itself up. It wants to take control. It wants to tell you how to do it. And gosh, it's good at it. And there's a place for that mind. It isn't that we live, we here can't live in the unconditional love forever. But you realize that when the mind is silent, when the mind is shocked out of its endless talk,
when your mental aspect has been silenced, and you realize that your ego has nothing to say, that is when the clarity of your life becomes apparent. And the ego is silenced when your mental aspect has nothing to offer.
And what does that? What does come in at that moment is what we started this all out with, is love. The voice of the heart is timeless, unconditional love. It's the only thing that will recenter the vast being that is you. And when this happens to you, if you hold it there and you learn that that is who you really are, you never can go back.
Right.
Yes, you can put the trappings of the mind back around you, but at your core, there's always the cracks and the shining light that are through the veil. The veil has been shredded, and it can never be rewoven sufficiently if you've allowed it to be shredded.
You can't unsee what you've seen.
Exactly. You're permanently ruined in that regard for the veiled life. Well, you're permanently enlightened. We can say it either way. True enlightenment is a painful process of realizing that you have to let go of all these comforting, comfortable things, letting go of tomorrow and letting go of yesterday. These are just words, but they're not words. People say, that's my whole life is tomorrow and yesterday. Well, yeah, it is your whole life, but it's not you. You have to let your life go. And the opportunity of a crisis puts you there. But we resist. We try to run away from it because there's an incredible fear of a crisis. And you think if you can patch it up quickly and everything's good again, you can go right back to tomorrow and yesterday. But when you're given something which is existential, you're nailed to your cross, or you're given a crisis which doesn't end in one day, it takes years, and at the end, you don't win. You don't win. You don't go back. Your ego concept is kind of eaten away. It's kind of, you realize that it's so small. It's a husk. It's like a seed that is burst asunder. You can't put the plant back into the seed. The seed is a husk. The heart has come out of it. You've been nailed to your cross. You come back down, but you still have the scars, and you still have the holes, and you can still see the light shining through them. And you realize that you are our quote that we read in the beginning of the first half hour, you are surprised at what you were able to do because your mind told you couldn't. That's way too much. We can't do that. We have things to do tomorrow. We had stuff to do yesterday. Your vast actual being has no limit, including your personal death, doesn't limit your vast being. And you realize that you touch at that being at the same time that you see that another's being is in great danger, or that your own is. And the veil is gone. The veil is shredded. You have held yourself to the cross, held yourself to that which was beyond what you thought you could do for so long that you no longer feed upon tomorrow or yesterday. They are concepts, and you see them for concepts. They are figments of your mind. They are not the reality. They're what the mind can take from reality, which isn't that much. It's what the mind can get, but it's not that much.
Yes. Yes. And it's that step. Taking that step, this is your free will speaking at that point. And I know the argument of, well, gee, it doesn't seem like much of a choice. But it's also understanding that who said that your free will had to do with dictating what tomorrow will bring.
You're getting a menu. You're getting a very, I'll use the term binary. You're getting a very yes, no, black, white type of choice. But it is not yes, it is not no, it is not black, and it is not white. It is heart, being, or chaos, and non-being. And yes, you say, well, that's not much of a choice. It's the only choice.
And that is the truth of what this life is. Do you choose life every second of the day? Because the only alternative is death.
And really, it's not the personal death. It's the non-existence of chaos.
The illusion. If you choose illusion, there is nothing that goes on then.
Right. Exactly.
Life goes on. Your spirit, your soul goes on. What are you choosing in this moment?
Well, and you were listening to Tolle, and Tolle calls it, the actual reality is limitless.
Yes.
And that which comes into being and then dissipates, the things which are created and then are destroyed, are illusions.
Mm-hmm.
And from one point of view, you say, well, hey, man, this hammer is not an illusion. Well, but it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The hammer was dust, became a hammer, went back to dust or nothing. So it has a limited, finite existence. The whole universe has a finite existence, however long it may be. But being, the being state, the state which really calls when you see the existential threat to another, and then you say, I will throw away all that is the construct and dedicate myself through love to something which is outside myself, the other.
It is love that motivates you and opens your consciousness to how wondrous, how valuable, how precious life really is.
Yes. And the being state is where we are connected. This particular manifestation of this person and my particular manifestation of my person are connected in the vastness of being. And when you see another suffering to whom you have that connection, you don't care about yesterday or tomorrow or the things which are of this world. You care about them, and you will sacrifice whatever you have here because it is meaningless. It's just the illusion to help that other.
Mm-hmm. And what matters to you is the state of their heart.
Yes.
Okay, it's not organizing their life so that they can meet all their appointments.
Oh.
Well, I mean, doctor's appointments, you got to do this, you have to go there, you have to have this test. The state of their heart becomes primary for you.
Exactly.
And the soul has begun to see limitations. It has begun to understand what suffering really is. And on the pediatric cancer wards, there is a lot of suffering. And it's more poignant when you see little children suffering. So your resolve rises in you that I will do all that I can right now to help these hurting hearts, even if I have to kill myself in some way.
Deny myself, hold myself. But I think the point that you just made, I don't want to go by it too quickly. Each of us in our vast existence is still a unique being.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our own journeys.
Yes.
And the life here which you're living, this precious spark, is important to the journey. What you concentrate on is not, like you said, keeping their calendar straight. You concentrate on saying, you have a short time here. I'm going to help you develop. I'm going to help you mature. I'm going to help you understand.
And the thing is, you're not organizing some kind of program that's going to teach them. You're just going to put together a school where they can learn how to do this, that, and the other thing. you key into the heart state of the other and see what this experience has opened for them and what are they willing to explore, where are they willing to take a step into. And you follow them into it.
Exactly.
And you hold that space open for them so that they can see what is around them, what matters to them, and the freedom to choose what their heart is telling them.
Your heart essence, your opening, in essence, connects to their journey, which you know is now a bright spot. It's burning bright, and you give everything that you have to make sure that this current iteration, this current spark, gets what it needs. And the thing is, at that moment, you both get something that you need for your journey and their journey. But you have to make the decision because you're put on the spot. You have to say, I will put myself below,
at your service, at the service.
At the service, exactly.
Yes, yes. And the heart shows you and tells you exactly what need be. And it's only through that divine connection to that unconditional love that Jesus was giving on that cross that any strength is able to come through to keep me to the task.
And we all have that connection. Call it Jesus or call it the eternal, call it spirit. We have that connection.
It's the unconditional love.
Exactly.
Which is the heart of Christ. And on that note, I believe we have reached the end of our hour.
And this has been The Soul of the Everyman, and I'm Michael.
And I'm Margaret. And thank you for listening.